Hi everyone, myself Om Prakash from CSIT department, possessing the roll number 2195183364, and the subject is English. The topic which I have taken for AIT Tech Talk is what are the some techniques of reading. And as a student, we are required to read and read a lot. I mean, for the research and for the studies, and we need to read so many things in order to get the knowledge, like news articles, textbooks, web pages, lecture slides, and even some the instructions which are mentioned. So with all that reading, knowing the best reading techniques can one get is is one of the difficult tasks. So we're gonna discuss about what are some uh, right techniques for the reading. So reading techniques are of six types. They are they are as follows: skimming, scanning, detailed reading, intensive reading, reading between the lines, and extensive reading. Skimming. Skimming is a method of rapidly moving the eyes over the text with the purpose of getting only the main ideas and a general overview of the content. Steps which are involved in skimming are as follows: read the title, read the introduction or lead paragraph, read the first paragraph completely. If there are subheadings, read each one and look for relationships among them. In this type of reading technique, I mean, we generally uh, we move the eyes uh, to the context of what we are reading, and with lot focusing, so that we get the image of or the ideas or a general overview of the content. So for the better understanding, for the better visualization of the matter which is written in a particular article, we use the skimming method of reading. Skimming can usually be accomplished at about 1,000 words per minute. Mastering skimming requires that you use it as often as possible. So it is a faster way to read a lot more articles, uh, given that you have limited or ample amount of time in finishing or reading some of the things in your busy day life. uh, so in that case, skimming becomes very handy for you for saving the time, for or depicting a great overview of the content. So the skimming can be only mastered by practicing it as many times as possible. Scanning. It is a second type of reading, and scanning, it is a method in which we rapidly covers a great deal of material in order to locate a specific fact or piece of information. Scanning is very useful for finding a specific name, date, statistics, or fact without reading the entire article. Steps in scanning an article. Keep in mind at all times what it is you are searching for. Analyze the organization of the content before starting to scan. Let your eyes run at several lines of print at a time. When you find the sentence that has information you seek, read the entire sentence. Scanning can be done at 1500 or more words per minute. It's a scanning, and the great thing about the scanning is in this type of reading technique we bound to cover a lot more words than the skimming. And in skimming we are approx covers words at 1,000 words per minute, but whereas in scanning we tend to cover 1500 or more words per minute. It is a hit and trial type of reading, Generally, you go through run fast and stops at a point where you where you feel that you got your desired information, and there you have to read the entire sentence. Detailed reading. Detailed reading is a technique that involves carefully reading and analyzing every word for a deeper understanding of the material. Detailed reading is used to extract accurate information from a material. Detailed reading usually starts with skimming. First, you skim the material to have an idea of what it is. Then you carefully read through. When doing a detailed reading, you need to look up the meaning of unfamiliar words or phrases. You also need to piece words together for better understanding. You use this technique when reading research articles, reports, and literary works. It is a detailed reading is the third kind of reading technique which we use, and in order to get a detailed view of the matter you seek and you are desperate to understand, this technique is very much suitable for those who tends to seek or are in a stick position for the better understanding of the knowledge. And in this, first the skimming is involved. I mean, you randomly look at about what it is all about, and then you go through some when you go through unfamiliar words or phrases, you definitely wants to seek the unfamiliar words or phrases by putting your all efforts and using different sources for finding out the meanings of those unfamiliar words or phrases. Whereas in skimming and scanning, you don't tend to you are not that desperate, and you not tend to find the unfamiliar words or phrases. Intensive reading. Intensive reading involves learners reading in detail with specific learning aims and tasks. It can be compared with extensive reading, which involves learners reading text for enjoyment and to develop general reading skills. Example: the learners read a short text and put events from it into chronological order. The classroom. Intensive reading activities include skimming a text for specific information to answer true or false statements or filling gaps in a summary, scanning a text to match headings to paragraphs, and scanning jumbled paragraphs and then reading them carefully to put them in the correct order. Here it is mentioned about the intensive reading. I mean, it's also a detailed reading about various articles or for gaining for and aiming for completion of a task such as filling gaps or answering to true or false statements, or even making correct word from the jumbled paragraphs. So it requires a detailed overview of the particular article in order to do these kind of tasks. So the intensive reading can be mainly found out in the classrooms. Reading between the lines. Reading between the lines. It's another way of reading. So, reading between the lines or interpreting the hidden meanings of what people say is a skill that you can learn. While you may not always be able to figure out exactly what someone might have meant, you can get a good idea. Make sure to look at the big picture when reading between the lines. Pay attention to the words, their body language, and the situation. Makes the language more colorful and interesting, giving more effective to the reader, gives more vivid and concrete description. So it is a technique in which you will relate the relation between the two lines and the accurate meaning or the essence they tends to give to the reader when they are read in a particular order or in in-depth overview. So when this kind of technique is used, it makes the language more colorful and interesting, and it gives more effective to the reader. Extensive reading. Extensive reading is which is shortly called as ER, is an approach to second language reading. When learners read extensively, they read very enjoyable books to build their reading speed and fluency. Another way to say this is students learn to read by actually reading rather than examining text by studying the vocabulary, grammar, and phrases. It is instructive to compare intensive reading with extensive reading. Extensive reading helps learners to build reading speed and reading fluency, and particular developing reading speed is important because it helps learners to understand language faster and better. One objective of extensive reading is reading for pleasure, and this builds confidence and motivation, which makes the learner a more effective user of language. The main difference between intensive reading and extensive reading is that the in intensive reading it may it uh, it it not used for building or gaining speed and fluency, and the words may not be split out, and in the extensive reading we may shout out the words in order to get the grip of the stressing the words or on the pronunciation, and whereas when it comes to extensive reading, the main objective is it is for reading for pleasure. So intensive reading may not build confidence motivation, but the extensive reading makes confidence builds confidence and motivation, which makes the learners a more effective user of language. So in these all different kinds of techniques, it depends upon the person capability to choose what reading technique uh, suits him more perfectly. It's up to us to choose the reading technique in our which makes us more perfect in in the any of the languages. Thank you.